go on. Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'd never seen it before, uh, but I know it's a classic film directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Keanu Reeves, Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins, and I want to say Kate Winslet, but that's probably wrong. We're gonna look it up right now, though, on IMDb, and it will tell me. Winona Ryder, duh, not. It was Winona. I should have known that. I don't know how it got her mixed up with Kate Winslet. They're not similar looking at all. But anyway, and their names aren't similar at all. But anyways, I did somehow. Um, but yes, Winona Ryder, Gary Oldman as Dracula. He does a pretty good job. So yeah, there's some shit to talk about with this movie. This movie is, first of all, is pretty long. It's over 2 hours, I think. Um, I want to see if it says here 7.4 out of 10. See, that's believable because this is a really well renowned film. People like it a lot, I think, which fair enough. Um, but yeah, so let's get into it. So it's very visually appealing. This movie looks really cool. And I gotta say that right away off the bat. It's edited pretty well, but there is one part that was kind of weird. There's a part where Dracula's talking to Keanu Reeves, and Keanu Reeves he says something to offend Dracula. I forget exactly, but it's about his about his home country. And then Keanu Reeves apologizes, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I've offended you," and then it's a weird edit. It like fades out because it feels like Dracula's about to respond, but then before Dracula responds, it fades out. For the most part, the editing and the visuals are good in this, but that one piece of editing, I was like, that's weird. But there's some cool shit, like they'll zoom in on eyes and fade to other circular stuff. There's some cool visuals in this as well. It's well put together. There's lots of vampire titties, and there's like that kind of shit with Keanu Reeves. This has some vampire erotica in it for sure, I would say. If you're into that sort of thing, check it out, I guess. But yeah, Anthony Hopkins is always great, of course. He plays Van Helsing, so he's trying to hunt Dracula, obviously. Um, this movie's cool. It's good. And I don't know if I loved it, but I at least liked it. And I respected it. It is definitely a good film. But I don't know if I love it like some people do. And it's got some spooky shit. Some stuff don't make sense. Oh boy, that almost fell over. But I just caught it. Oh boy. But there's some shit that doesn't make sense, but it like to a certain extent you can just be like, well, it doesn't make sense. So magic, I guess, because that's a big part of this. Dark magic, vampires, the black arts, that kind of shit. But it starts off with Dracula in his human form in the 1400s or whatever the fuck. And he is mad because the love of his life, killed herself because she thought he was dead in battle, but he didn't die in battle. But she should have just fucking waited. Ridiculous. Anyway, just wait a little bit. But he's so mad at God because all the priests or whatever were like, she killed herself, so she's gonna go to hell. And Dracula's like, no, I don't like that. I denounce God, and I am on Satan's side now, and I'm gonna stab this stone cross with a sword, and it's gonna bleed for some reason. And that's what happens. And then, you assume that that's sort of when it happens, that he becomes Dracula. And there is a cool visual before this when they show him this battle that Dracula's in, which is shadows, and it's quite cool. And they show a lot of violence without showing a lot, which is cool. So I like that part. There are really cool visuals in this. Like I said, and I'll keep saying. But yeah, that's how he becomes Dracula, and then Keanu Reeves comes into it later on, obviously, because this book's set in 1897 or whatever the fuck, something like that, and Keanu Reeves works for a bank, I think, or some shit, and he's gotta get Dracula's affairs in order for all because he's buying a bunch of houses or some shit. But it's really just a ploy to get him over here because Dracula likes Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves' woman in this. He likes Winona Ryder because she looks like his woman from way back when. So, you know, and I think I've never read the Dracula book, but I've seen other Dracula films, and I don't know how true it is to the book, but I think this is relatively true to the book. There are probably some things that are different. Definitely some things that are different. Like apparently in the book, Dracula goes to university in hell, so that doesn't happen in this. But you know, so there's shit like that that happens in the book apparently. Um, that would be. I'd like to see that version where the devil goes to university, or where Dracula goes to university in hell. But anyways, back to this movie. There's a bit more to talk about. So, this is one of the things I was confused by, but and it's another thing that you can sort of just be like, I guess magic, I guess. But Dracula has all these different forms, and they sort of explain it, but like I don't get like why he chooses different forms at these different times. Like, if I were him, I would just be the handsome young version of him, because he can be the handsome young version of him, apparently, but then sometimes he's, like, the Batman version, where he's, like, fuzzy and shit. Sometimes he's the old version of him. So, yeah, I don't really get that, but that's sort of a nitpick. It's fine, I guess. But I didn't fully understand it. But I like this movie, though. That was definitely a nitpick. What else to say about this? So yeah, there's cool visuals. I talked about the stone cross and the blood coming out of it. Let's talk about the cast. Let's look at the cast. So I said Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, Anthony Hopkins. Those are big deals, people. But the woman who plays Lucy. Let's talk about Lucy. So Lucy is Winona Ryder's rich friend. And this. Oh, and Tom Waits. We gotta talk about Tom Waits. Okay, this is another thing. Tom Waits, he plays Reinfeld, Dracula's assistant. You know, he goes insane, he eats bugs and shit. And I don't know how much of this is in the book, but I would have liked to see him, like, get out and do some shenanigans with Dracula. Like, I feel like he did some shenanigans. I don't know for sure about this, but I feel like he did some shenanigans with Dracula in the book and other movies, but he's just straight up in the mental hospital. The whole movie, I think, and I would have liked more to happen with him, but he does a great job with the role. Tom Waits, always good. He should have maybe won an Oscar for that if he did. I don't think he did. But yeah, Tom Waits, and I was gonna talk about Lucy. So Lucy is, as I said, Winona Ryder's character's best friend in this, and she's rich, and they're together, hanging out a lot in the movie, waiting for Keanu Reeves to come back, but he's fucking tied up with vampire bitches draining his blood and shit. But yeah, Lucy is her friend, her rich friend. They show her as being promiscuous and stuff. And I think this is kind of funny because she's like sort of flirting with all these guys, and they sort of think of her as a slut, I think, some of the guys. But nowadays, it's like, girls are like that, and that's fine. You can do that. You can flirt around and do whatever you want. But it's also pretty funny to see in this film all these guys be like, oh my goodness, But anyway. And then she gets turned into a vampire, and that leads to a kind of funny line, because Tom Waits, Reinfeld, he wants to be a vampire. That's the whole point of his character. So there's a funny line where he's like, you made the pretty woman a vampire, but not me, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But I thought that was funny. Because, yes, of course, Dracula be thinking with his dick and making the beautiful women vampires before poor old Renfeld. But, Renfeld was originally working for the bank and was in Keanu Reeves' position, but then he went insane, and Dracula brought him to the dark side, basically. Then that's why Keanu Reeves was brought in to work on the real estate affairs or whatever the fuck. Anyways, this movie was just pretty good. But, you know, it's not my favorite movie of all time. That's, of course, Purite. But, however, I think I am running out of stuff to say. Holy shit, this won 24 Oscars. Oh, wait, no, what? Oh, 3 Oscars, sorry. 24 award wins in general. But it won 3 Oscars. Let's look at this. Awards. It won Best Costume Design. I get that. There's some cool shit with the costumes. Dracula's got some, like, a cool robe and shit. And a wig or whatever. Best effects. Pretty good effects in it. That's fair. Sound effects editing. That's fair too. Oh, it's specifically best sound effects editing. Okay. And best makeup. Okay. It didn't win for actor or anything. Best art direction nominee, but it didn't win. That's cool though. Yeah, I like this movie. Oh no. Don't freeze on me. Are we okay? Are we okay? That's cool though. Okay, no, we're good. We're good. We're back. Okay. Hello? Hello? Don't freeze on me. Oh wait, no, it's. I think it's sort of frozen still. Are we frozen? No, we're good. We're good. Okay. We are back. So yes, I'm going to, I think, end this review. And then we're gonna wrap. Oh no. Just quit. It keeps buffering. Just get yourself together, internet, please. Please figure it out. But if anyone's watching who has any spare booty box, please consider giving to the Wackadoodle Extravaganza. 11 days left. We're so close to reaching the goal. But yeah, in the meantime here, let's end the review. So. Unless, is there anything else I want to say about it? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. The acting is pretty good all around, I'd say. Everyone was pretty good. But yeah, real quick, just to go over some of the things I said again already, but just to reiterate. One of my main problems is was that one scene that I nitpicked where with the editing was weird. But I also didn't really I didn't understand why he didn't choose to be the young, hot Dracula all the time if he could be. So that didn't make sense to me.